A genre I haven't seen much of in anime is high fantasy. Not because I'm not interested, but because I so rarely find one. Sure, we get one once in a while, like Escaflowne, but you'd think with a genre so packed with potential for engaging stories, creative worlds, and interesting characters, we'd get a lot more of them. Well, in fall of 2014, we were treated to a 12-episode high fantasy action-adventure series titled Shingeki no Bahamut Genesis. Produced by Studio Mappa and directed by Keiichi Sato, who worked on anime such as Tiger and Bunny and Giant Robo, it was loosely based off a mobile card game of all things. So will it satisfy people who are looking for an exciting high fantasy series, or does it flop under the weight of its own potential? Well, let's find out. My name is Keten, and welcome to my review of Shingeki no Bahamut Genesis. The plot takes place many years after the sealing of a dangerous dragon named Bahamut, who was only defeated thanks to the alliance between gods and demons. Many years later, the story follows the comical and deceitful bounty hunter Favaro Leon, who's being chased by a fellow bounty hunter named Kaiser Lidfard, who seeks vengeance against him. Soon Favaro meets the mysterious woman named Amira, and is roped into helping her reach the frozen wasteland of Helheim, where she seeks to reunite with her mother. Along the way, they meet new quirky characters, get into various fights with enemies and monsters, get themselves into insane situations, all while being caught in the middle of a battle between angels and demons. Alright, so what's great about this setup? Seems pretty basic for a high fantasy story, but what makes it stick out is how the narrative is structured. Everything in the series is as if a group of friends decide to play Dungeons & Dragons and decide to animate their session afterwards. The selfish and silly-looking protagonists are constantly pulled along throughout the story by random events or characters showing up that come out of nowhere and point them to the next destination. If the characters seem like they have nowhere to go, that's okay, some guy will walk up to them and tell them where to go. It's as if there's some overseer, like a dungeon master, controlling how things play out, which gives it a nostalgic charm if you were ever into pen and paper RPGs. Of course, while it gives it a unique atmosphere, it's also the Achilles heel of the story. Everything feels contrived. There's no build-up to random things that happen, and they happen constantly, and it can be very jarring and take you out of a scene very easily, which can make it difficult for some to care about what's going on, which would effectively ruin the whole show for them. This is definitely something you'll have to get past to fully enjoy the series. Another thing to bring up is the pace of the series. While for the most part it has a lot of things going on and moves at a fast pace, there are several episodes where the characters halt and stay in the same area, and it feels so slow in comparison to the rest of the series, even if it allowed for some proper characterization and awesome fight sequences. The characters themselves do make up for it though. They're very enjoyable if you can get past the messy narrative. The characters are pretty simple, but full of personality, charisma, and energy. They're very selfish characters, but they have a lot of charm in the way they act and interact with each other, like how Favaro loves to crack jokes or egg on his opponents in battle, or Kaiser's tendency to yell multiple times whenever they're together. Amira is very likable too, though admittedly I can see her being annoying for some. She's very childlike and silly, but she's handled very well for the kind of character she is, and is just as active as the other characters. There's also other quirky characters that you meet along the way, like a sassy necromancer, a drunken god with a talking duck. Though, admittedly the villains are pretty stereotypical and one-dimensional, for the most part. I don't think there really had to be anything more than that though, but I have to say the plan they had was pretty convoluted and didn't really make any sense. The fast pacing can also take away from some of the characters' backstories, but even so, they are there, and they get bits of development throughout the story too. If you can get invested in their stories, there's some great impactful scenes with them, both fun and dramatic. For me, they save the story from otherwise being too chaotic to get invested. The visual and sound design are absolutely stunning. The world is filled with so much character, looking like a mix between Lord of the Rings and Pirates of the Caribbean. Complete with dragons, pirate ships, zombies, giant crabs, huge titans, demons, angels, everything you could ever want from a classic high fantasy story, and then some. On top of that, the design of the characters are a breath of fresh air. While they're very silly looking, they're very unique and memorable, and fit the personality of the characters. Not to mention being a great change from the generic looking character designs we see these days. The animation allows for some excellent character expression too, adding another layer of personality. There are moments where I'd swear it was rotoscoped with how fluid and realistic it looks. The show likes to have a lot of cool moments as well, with great scene composition and visual effects that make certain moments all the more badass. The action scenes are also very slick and fluid, having some great fight choreography at times, and are composed of many impactful moments. It has a lot of changes in location too, adding variety to the environment to prevent the action from getting repetitive. The show also has a lot of visual comedy, little moments scattered here and there that add to the comedic tone the series usually goes for, such as this scene in episode 1. The scene didn't hold too much purpose, it was just there to add some personality to the character, and to be a funny moment to laugh at. Those kind of scenes and even short character motions, like a character casting a spell by twiddling his fingers in a silly way, are all over the place in this series, and remind the viewer not to take the series too seriously, and just have fun with it. The show's visuals are not perfect, of course. While it has better CGI than most TV anime I've seen, there are times it sticks out and becomes distracting. Luckily it doesn't happen too often, and even when it doesn't take away too much from the experience. With all the generic sounding pop music we hear in anime these days, the music in this series is also a breath of fresh air, making each moment filled with so much power and impact. The composer Yoshihiro Ike did an excellent job composing music that not only fit the show's atmosphere, but enhanced it further, with very big sounding orchestral tracks, and more low-key but equally energetic Eastern European songs. The voice acting is also very well done. I don't think the interactions in this series would be remotely as entertaining without these performances. The opening is excellent as well. Performed by the band Sim, it's just the kind of music you need to get you pumped up for the energetic adventure each episode. The ending is a lot slower and calmer, which at first I wasn't a fan of, but now I appreciate how it was a nice breather at the end of each episode, and the song itself I find quite relaxing. Even if the show's writing isn't the best and downright messy and contrived at times, the show certainly succeeded with its presentation, which really makes it an epic experience. This series is pure fun. If you're looking for a show that focuses more on exploring themes, you won't find it here. But if you're looking for a grand adventure with some excellent action, charismatic characters, fantastic visual and sound design, all with a final battle which is nothing short of epic in scale, this show is for you. It does leave itself open for a sequel, and it's even confirmed to be getting one. It works fine on its own though, more or less tying up all loose ends. While this show may be shallow and messy, one thing is for sure. For a TV series based off a simple mobile game, what we got was absolutely stunning. This wasn't just an advertisement for the game. It feels like the people who made this had a blast making it. I greatly respect the effort they put into this series, and I recommend it. Check it out if anything I said in this review made you interested. And if you've seen this show, let me know what you think of it in the comments. Well, I hope you enjoyed this review, and I'll see you next time.
Mwah! Good night, everybody.